particular video with supporting administrators in determining how to coach teachers in the area of the Standard 3A indicator communicating with students. I'm Kirsten Wilson, Director of Curriculum Instruction for Virtual Arkansas, and I'm joined by my teacher, Jason Wells, who is a social studies teacher for Virtual Arkansas. Jason, thank you so much for joining me today, and we're going to get into a few questions I'm going to ask you, and you can talk about how you as a teacher emulate this in regards to being proficient in these particular areas.
So much for having me and letting me join you. Some of the tools that I particularly use is going back to Zoom, reaching out to the students over the telephone, contacting their parents, email, also the learning management system. Sometimes we'll have a messaging system. I use that frequently as well. Some of the key things that I tend to do is be consistent. So like every week, I will send out a weekly message, announcements, and the learning management system that's always there Monday morning by 8 o'clock for the students. Also looking for feedback on assignments. To me, giving good feedback is also part of that communication with the students as well to help them improve on their scores. Particular area, I find it best to be very specific and consistent on your assignments, objectives, the little things that sometimes we think we kind of tend to forget in the online environment, but simple step-by-step directions tend to work well for the students, and be consistent from assignment to assignment as far as how your directions are set up.
And Mr. Wells, I just wanted to clarify in this particular area, a lot of times, even in a face-to-face environment, we think we have really communicated clearly, and then we realize as the students get into the assignment or the task that there's a disconnect. How do you address that disconnect in a way that really is masterful and supports the students?
For me, there's two ways usually. Number one is rubrics. That will also help on the grading side. But just simply providing a rubric sometimes tends to kind of clarify any kind of misconfusions that are happening. Also, second is going back over the directions, providing an example with the students, talking them through the assignment. Sometimes that works well, little things that to help your community. Number one, going back to being consistent. If you know the announcements are going to be there Monday at 8, the students are very responsive to log in right by 8 o'clock or during their class time on Monday for those announcements. But also looking out for things like the use of all caps, the tone. Again, sometimes it's best to be specific. So like, for example, if you want to offer help to the students, just tell them, I'm here to help. Please join the class at this time, or reach out to me at this time, because don't assume they know or can read that from your email or message or announcement. Be specific. Also, another thing is to have a quick turnaround. I tell my students 24 hours or less is a turnaround time if they email me, because if you wait longer than that, they are going to be disengaged from the class.
And probably just like us, if we don't communicate with them, they are likely to maybe make their own conclusions about something. And when they draw their own conclusions, what can happen there?
It can lead to a negative teacher-student relationship. And they will be, like I said, be turned off from the class and not want to ask for help at all from you.
Excellent. These are some really good points. I think this is very helpful in determining how teachers in an online environment can be excellent in their approach and masterful in making sure that we are doing our best to communicate with students. Mr. Wells, I really appreciate you joining me today so that we could share with other administrators how online learning takes place and what the role of the teacher is in that online learning when dealing with the standard and the indicator 3A communicating with students. So in this last session, when we talked about indicator and standard 3A communicating with students, Mr. Wells expanded on the ideas of content and procedures in regards to how teachers communicate with students, the use of oral and written language in regards to clarity, and then how we utilize that communication with students in order to engage them. In this situation, he talked about sharing the expectations by providing clarity and drawing students in with relevance and interest in regards to what he's doing content-wise, but connecting with them. He talked about clear standards and goals for learning with them and providing clear directions that really are explicit and don't infer or assume that students will know certain things, taking into account that possible expert bias. He also talked about just-in-time response plan for when there are misconceptions that arise that are really essential, and using tools like rubrics in order to communicate those expectations that he has for students in regards to coursework that they're doing. There was an explanation of content that's careful to adjust for the varied schema and provides multiple means of representation. He spoke of emailing them, using different methods through the learning management system, also providing communication in a variety of ways, but consistency. So students knew when to expect that communication to come out on a weekly basis. He also speaks clearly to his students with a voice that's easily heard, and I'm sure that you could see that. And one of the things that he didn't expand on, but something he utilizes, is video that he used in order to share or front load information to the students that goes along with the content that's already in that learning management system course. And so these are some things that as you coach and grow your teachers in the area of online learning, you can push them from that basic to proficient in regards to these areas by looking at these specific areas like Mr. Wells does on a regular basis, which he clearly communicates the content and the procedures that students need to know. He uses a variety of ways to communicate that, both with oral and written language. And then he utilizes both feedback and relevant in the moment type of things for students that really relate to them. So I hope that this helps you as you evaluate and coach your teachers towards their proficiency in the area of online learning in regards to 3A, communicating with students.